Poetic Spartan case for the Oneplus Open. I actually have two cases. Disclaimer, Poetic sent me these cases for review. They don't have any say in what I say. I don't think they're going to send me another case to review because I don't change phones very often. So they have, I have no motivation to sugarcoat anything. Now, I've had this case for about 5 weeks now. This review's been a long time coming. So I got a lot to say about this case. There's a link in the description if you just want to get tired of me talking and you just want to jump to the end. The short version is I like the case quite a bit. It's going to stay on my phone. It's been on my phone for 5 weeks because I don't want to take it off. That being said, it is a bulky case because it's pretty protective. So that's the price you pay for that. If you look at people who are breaking their phones, inevitably you're going to see that down the middle of their phone, just the screen has started turning black and it's been spreading. And it's not real clear why that is. Is it because the hinge itself is having an error? Is the hinge pushing against the inside of the screen, breaking something? Or I've always suspected, is this something getting into the hinge, getting into the back of the screen, and breaking something from there? I don't know. But what's pretty obvious is that this hinge point is a failure. And I think that if you buy a case to protect your phone and keep it from dying, that you have to protect against, you have to have hinge protection. And that is the number one fail point of the phone. Scratches and stuff is nice to protect against, but if you want to keep your phone from dying, you have to have hinge protection. And there are very few cases out there that have hinge protection. Very few brand names have hinge protection right now. So I've always been very interested in what Poetic had to say about the hinge case situation. Poetic's been around for a long time. I looked it up. They've been around for 14 years making cases, and they aren't cheap cases. They're pretty solid cases. Some cheap throwaway brand. And so this is the case. It's a polycarbonate case, so it's hard. And then along the side you have softer rubber for drop protection. So that's good. Best of both worlds there. As you would expect from a company that's been making phones for a while, they know what they're doing. Okay, all the holes are as they should be. Speakers work, the mic works. The USB plug is, I don't have any problem with any of my cables getting things in and out. I will say the volume buttons are a little on the stiff side. You get used to it, but that caught me off guard initially. And there's some little touches that you can see. So if you look real closely along the hinge here, there are 2 notches here, and top and bottom, and those are for the ends of the spring. So when you open the spring, there's a little bit of slack, and you can bend it a little bit more without stressing out the spring. So that's a nice little touch. And another thing, which I thought was very interesting, is one of my prior cases, which I've done a review for, you can look it up, was this cheap Oneplus Open hinge case, one of the first hinge protection cases on the market. And it has the same 3-hole action to protect the camera, right? This thing was a lint magnet. I'm not going to rant about this again, but I would pull this thing out of my phone, and this thing would be full of lint. I don't know where the hell the lint's coming from, but it'd just be, it seemed like every time I pulled this thing out, I'd have to clean out these holes. It was insane. I don't have that problem with this phone, interestingly. And I guess it's because these holes are slightly rounded off and it's not scraping as much stuff out of the pocket. I guess I can't explain it, but I can tell you that that's a non-issue with this phone case. So that's great. So let's talk about. I'm gonna start going through the pros and the stuff I'm kind of on, and then stuff I don't like about this case. The number one thing about this case, and the only reason to get this case really, is for drop protection. Okay. So by the way, so I have the this is the one that supports the stylus. There's a hole for the stylus. I'll talk about this later. These two cases are basically identical. The only difference is that this hinge is different. So I could rip this hinge off and put this hinge on, and it'd be the same. And the front part is the same. So actually, I'm using the same for both. I've switched between the two. They sent me the hinge one first, and I switched to the other one after I got that one. But I'm just going to just use this to talk about the case. So you'll see there's various things they've added to protect the phone. And each thing adds a bit of thickness, not a lot. But the problem is when you start adding these things up together, that's when the bulk really starts to come in. And it's not like, I'm making it sound like the case is huge. It's not really. Okay, but it is a couple, it is layers that add up. So for example, one of them is something you rarely see. Inside this case, there's this felt layer. So if you drop the phone, it's a little cushion. They claim it adds 68% drop cushioning. I don't know what that number means, but yeah, I mean, it's sure, that's a good thing to have, right? And that's something you rarely see. Something I've always liked in some of my cases is these raised corners. And so the raised corners allows you to have more cushioning, because when the phone drops, it's going to hit a corner, right? One or two, if straight, it's going to hit two, otherwise it's going to hit one. So it gives you extra cushioning on the corners where it's going to hit without necessarily adding bulk to the entire phone. So because you're gonna hold the phone in the middle, right? So the fact that these corners stick out a little bit doesn't necessarily impact your comfort when holding the phone. So that's a good thing. They also say, and I can't verify this, they call them air cushions. So I guess these are hollow inside. It's good. And actually, I had a nasty drop just the other day on the sidewalk, and I don't know if you can see it. It like chipped the hell out of this corner. You can see it hit this corner, and yeah, gouged this thing, and then gouged this corner a little bit, and the phone's fine. That was a nasty drop on the sidewalk. So that's good. This thing, it has, there's no question, it has saved my phone from legit damage. And if that's not a good reason to keep the case, then what do you want a case for? So another thing, oh yeah, also the felt is also on the inside of the camera section too. So that's nice. On the outside of the camera, there's also a rubber lip that sticks up a little bit. So if you put the phone down, it's going to rest on the rubber. Also, another thing that's interesting is, well, I don't know if everyone does this or not, but you'll never be able to see this without looking at the phone. But the inside lip, there is actually an inside lip. And the lip is bigger on the outside, and it kind of thins down towards the hinge, and it gets kind of bigger as it hits the outside, and this part is higher. So you put your phone down, it's actually going to be resting on this lip. And I guess when you close it, it's not exactly a totally flat close, because it's kind of like this V. I guess it's micro. You can't tell. It's yeah, it's nice. It is one of the few ways that you can add a lip without. I mean, you can't add too much lip on the inside. It's going to mess up the hinge. But if you add a lip on the outside like this, then you can. So that's good. And there's actually the hinge here sticks up a little bit. Oh, you can see that. You can see that right there. So when you rest, actually, it's resting on the lip. I don't know if it rests on the hinge or not, but you get a little bit of leeway as far as putting your phone face down. I don't know if that's a good idea. I have dropped, by the way, with this case, I have dropped my phone. My son has dropped his phone with the screen open. I don't recommend that. So another thing too, especially in comparison with the cheapo case, is that this hinge the springs on this, they're pretty strong. This is a pretty serious hinge, which is important actually, by the way, because I always had an issue where this, I guess because when you pull it out of your pocket, this gets lifted up a little bit when it hits the side of your pocket. And so with this case, if I just lifted this up and looked inside to see, I'd always see dust inside, and not like a tiny amount. Like I'd see a decent amount of dust inside, lint, because it just keeps opening up and letting lint in. And with this, it's not 100%, but it's pretty close. It's like 95% less lint. So that's good. And also, even if when you open this, you hear that. That's the sound of the case kind of scraping against the other side of the case. That's how strong the spring is. It's kind of grinding against the other side of the case. But that's good. Having that's more lint protection against the hinge. So I was happy about that. So yeah. So overall, like I said, it's a very protective case. And it has these nice grips on the outside, so it's stays in your hand pretty well. Yeah, it's a very well put together case. I mean, for the most part, pretty happy with it. So let's get on to the not so good stuff. So the front of the screens, this is the brand new one from the from this one. It has a plastic screen protector, and it's okay. The fact that it's not adhesive lends to a small issue where, if you look closely, you can see there's a bunch of dust getting in through the hole on top, which is not great. But on the other hand, that area is on notification bar, so it has not had any effect on my usage of the phone. And the case has adhesive strips on it, so I assume it's gonna be a pain in the ass to pull off and put back on. So I have not bothered to clean that out. Some people heat up it's common among some of these cases, they heat up the case a bit to loosen up the glue and rip out the protector. I still like the idea of having something on there to protect against keys and or whatever, or sand or anything. So I have not done that, but it's something to keep in mind. Also, another interesting thing among all these two-piece cases is that the hinge is always connected to the camera side. I guess because there's not much room on the other side to put the hinge. But what that means is you can mix and match. You can use any front screen with any back screen, hinge or not, of these cases. So, you know, if you find that when it works better or worse with your screen protector, you can just, you know, and it won't look as nice, of course, especially with this where, you know, one side has raised corners and the other side's flat. I guess that'll look kind of weird, but it is an option, you know. Again, no perfect case, so you do what you got to do. The case does come with 2 extra adhesive strips, so you can replace those as you needed. Okay, so let's talk about the tripod. There's this, not tripod, the stand. For some reason, unlike the Z Fold, unlike their own Z Fold case and the case for the Google Pixel, the stand is not on the back. It is on the side. And there's a little notch on the bottom to pull it up, and you do that. And it's a pretty chunky stand. I'm sure it's very strong. The stand itself is very strong. Where it would fail is probably this hinge. Like, it's hard to find, and if you're not careful opening it, you could just rip this whole thing off like a crab claw. So, you know, you gotta be a little careful with that. When you open up the tripod, yeah, you don't want to open it with the phone open, by the way. It's much easier to open it when it's closed. Now, interestingly, if you put it down like that, it wobbles like crazy. So it's not meant for that. It's actually meant to be, you open it and then go sideways. And it's fine. It's very sturdy. The camera lens is at a weird angle, so you can't tell. It's a nice 45-degree angle. If you put it upside down, it actually causes the hinge to open up, because this is where the hinge is. So if you put it down this way, it actually kind of bends down a little bit more, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is what it is. So you can't really, this way it's not going to work at all. So actually, even though it wobbles, it's okay. It's not horrible. It's annoying. But the reality is, if you're going to watch videos are bigger when you rotate use this orientation anyway. So this is probably the direction you want to go no matter what. So is it a big deal that this doesn't work as well? Maybe not. What is also not great is that since it's on the side like this, it doesn't work if the phone is closed. So that's kind of annoying. If you're a big fan of that, that's a deal breaker. For me personally, I haven't really seen the situation where it's like I'm not okay unfolding the phone. Continuing in the I guess pure cons section now. 2 minor things. Number 1, there are no color choices. This is it, gray, gunmetal gray, I guess. And let's be honest now, the Oneplus Open is a niche phone. Hyper protective cases like this are niche case type. So you put a niche case type for a niche phone. Don't expect a lot in terms of color choices or choices. So it is what it is. 1 color choice, gray. The other thing, which I don't know, is the back of this phone. It's not flat. It starts here, it goes down here, goes up here, and then it goes down here. So this part sticks up, and these black parts go down. And what's kind of interesting is these two rubber feet here, they actually stick out a bit, okay? And I don't know why they stick out. I guess why not? When you put the phone down like this, they don't touch the ground. This part touches the ground, and this end part touches the ground, and they're here in the middle, and so they don't touch the ground anyway. They just stick out a little bit. I guess the hole is, I guess that's too small for it to sink in, so you just had to stick out, I guess. But the thing that I don't like, first of all, I like it because it looks cool. Okay, it's not just a boring back. People look at that and go, ooh, you know, it looks kind of badass actually. But the fact that it's flat means you can't stick anything on the back, and that kind of sucks. Like if you want to put a pop socket on, or I have a Love Handle Pro, which I would really like to stick this on the back of this. I mean, the lens is so thick anyway. Like, who cares, right? Just this was such a useful strap when I used it with the other case, but since it's not flat, I just don't. I don't know. I don't feel like it's gonna stick on there very well. And another thing I really missed from my other case was having a wallet place to slide my credit cards into. And if it was flat, I could stick something on the back to put my credit cards in. But now that it's kind of bumpy like this, I got no options for that. So that's, I don't know. Maybe that should be a mix, because if it was just flat, it would be pretty boring looking. And this is kind of like their trademark look, but it is something to think about. You know, if you plan on putting on like a ring or even another kickstand, if you really like, you know, if you really want the folded kickstand thing, I guess a kickstand you could still slide in there, but you gotta be careful. So that's a con. And of course, the big elephant in the room is the size of this phone. If you take my old Oneplus old hinge case, okay, and you put them side by side like this, and let's flatten the bottom out, comes to basically the bottom of this hinge, okay, slightly over, but not by much, which means this hinge part, this top of this hinge part, that's all extra width that you're adding to your phone. And for the case without the stylus, you're talking about 1/2 inch extra width. So if you're a one-hander and you add that extra width on, it could be some trouble. If you're not a one-hander, I don't find it to be a big deal. I put this in my jeans pockets all the time. It is bulky, but I don't see it being a deal breaker. In fact, we'll get to the other case in a bit. I think, I have a feeling that this kickstand design is a legacy of the Stylus design. And for the Stylus design, I think this makes sense because you do need that extra width. But without the stylus, I think this is a mistake. I think they should have put the kickstand on the back, and if they could have narrowed this down to like 1/3 or even just 1/2 the height. Like when I look inside here, like it doesn't seem like they need it that thick. It seems excessive. And I think it would sell a lot better. I think people are going to be put off a bit by the width of this case, which is unfortunate because, like I said, this case has saved my phone. So, you know, this is the best case I have by far. So I'm gonna be using this probably forever, honestly. So that's basically the deal with this case. Now, before I before I drop off, let's talk a little bit about the Stylus case. I'm not going to put this on. Now, it just so happens that my son's toy has a Stylus, which just happens to fit this thing exactly, I think. Now, if you look at this hole, this is not a small hole. And if I stick it in like this, this thing pretty much fits exactly. And the way that you slide it out like this when you want it. So you stick it in, and then when you need it, I didn't stick it in right, sorry. And you just slide it out like that, which is fine. If you don't have a Stylus, though, there's a big hole here, and there's two. Actually, technically, there's two big holes here, and this is the side with the hinge. So you're a lot more liable to get dust into your hinge if you have these two gaps here, unlike this, which is completely sealed up, right? So that's one negative if you don't have a Stylus. I mean, once you put a Stylus in there, it's pretty much sealed up, so that's fine. But of course, the bigger issue is you got to have room to put this Stylus in, and so that bumps up, that increases the width of this another 1/4 inch. So you're talking about adding an extra 3/4 of an inch to the width of your phone, and that's a lot to ask. I mean, when I first got the phone, this is the case they sent me, and I used it, and I'm like, okay, it's big, but it's okay, it's fine. But I was feeling much happier once I switched to this case. It just gave a little more room in my pocket. So yeah, so that's the thing. So that's basically my review of the phone. Like I said, if you are serious about protecting your phone and you want, an OtterBox type case, to protect against drops. I've had some nasty drops with this case, open and closed, and my phone's it's fine. I mean, your mileage may vary. Don't push your luck, but that's that's why I got the case, and that's why I'm going to keep the case. But you just have to ask yourself, do you want that much protection, or need that much protection for your phone? Personally, with the screens that we're seeing getting damaged, I would say if you're okay with this width, I would absolutely recommend it. And I guess that's basically a wrap. So there you go. Any questions, feel free to post, and hope this was useful in some way. All right, thanks, bye.